Hello first graders and welcome back to your phonics and reading job, day 2. This week we are going to continue looking at the long I sound. All of these patterns here are going to make the long I sound this week. And we know when a vowel makes its long sound, it says its name. So we are going to be reading the sound I this week. Just like as in the word pie, high, fly, and tie. Now, looking at each of these words, what do they all have in common? What is the same about all of these words? They all have the long I sound. They all have the long I sound at the end of the word. The word pie says I at the end, just like I, I, and I all have the long I sound at the end of the word. What is different about these words? They all have different beginning sounds, but they all have different long I patterns as well. None of these words have the same spelling. Oh, actually there are two words that have the same long I pattern. Do you spot them? The words pie and tie both have the IE pattern. All right, boys and girls, now it's your turn. Stop and pause the video and read the words. Now that you have paused the video and read the words, I will go through them and read them to you. Might, bright, light, sigh, cries, higher, closed, biggest, try, buy, giggle, buddies, dries, why, uses. Super reading. Now whisper read the sentence, boys and girls. We heard the biggest noise across the lake. We heard the biggest noise across the lake. Uh-oh. Did you spy any words with the long I sound in this sentence? Me neither. Let's take a look at the next one. Whisper read the sentence. You might try my pie made with dried apples. You might try my pie made with dried apples. Did you spy any words with the long I sound? How many patterns did you find? I found 3 long I patterns. Great reading, first graders. All right, we are going to move on to our reading job this week. We are going to take a look at story elements. And the story elements are the different parts that go into making a fiction story. A not real life story. So let's take a look at our first element. The first element of a story that we are looking at are the characters in a story. The characters are the people and the animals in a story. The people and the animals in a story. Who were the characters in our story this week? How many characters were there? When you're reading a story, can there only be one character? Or 2, or 3, or 4? How many characters? We are also going to take a look at the setting, boys and girls. The setting is when and where a story takes place. When and where a story takes place. So, when a story takes place, it could be a day of the week. It takes place on a Monday or a Tuesday, but sometimes we don't know that. So when can also be a season. Does it take place during the winter time, during the summertime, during the spring or the fall? When can also be a time of day. Does it take place at 1 o'clock or at 2 o'clock? Or in the morning? Sometimes we just know based on the pictures and the clues. It takes place in the morning. Or it takes place in the evening, at the nighttime. Does it take place during lunchtime? That is all part of the setting. The setting, when we're looking at the setting, we also ask ourselves, where does the story take place? Does it take place on a boat? In a house? In the garden? Where does the story take place? We are also going to look at the plot, the important events in a story. We're going to look at the problem and the solution. This week, our characters ran into a big problem, but they were able to find a solution to their problem. Our story this week is a fantasy story. It's a type of fiction or a type of not real life story that cannot happen in real life. So a fantasy is a type of fiction story that cannot happen in real life. What do you see about these pictures that cannot happen in real life? When I look at the picture from our story this week, the kite with frog and toad, I see that there is a frog and a toad wearing pants and a jacket. Can that happen in real life? No. So, this is a fantasy story. All right, boys and girls, your reading job for today is to create a story map for me. Those story elements that we just talked about, you can write them, or you can draw them, or you can tell them. However you would like. You can make it look like my drawing here, where you show me the characters, the setting, the problem, and the solution that happened in this story that we read. All right, boys and girls, it's time to read. Happy Tuesday and happy reading, first graders.